Hello students of Year 10, parents and staff of Maronite College of the Holy Family. This video is in lieu of our subject selection information evening, and the intention of this video is to give you an insight into what's going to be happening with regards to your child's subject selections for 2021. Now, it is imperative that both yourselves and your child actually watch this video because it does give you some insight and also may help to answer some questions that you might have. So your child now is at the stage of transitioning into senior education, and that involves a series of steps. Firstly, it starts with subject selection process, which begins in week 4 of this term. We then move into half-yearly examinations, which are in week 5 of this term, and then have minimum standards online testing through NESA. That will take place throughout the rest of the year, and your child has 4 attempts in order to pass the minimum standards before actually achieving their HSC in 2022. We then move into parent-teacher interviews. Now, the method will change or might change depending on how things go with COVID. We will then have our mentoring and subject selection sessions, around about 2 of those, just to make sure that your child's picking the right subjects for themselves. Then we will have our enrolment interviews for 2021 Year 11, and then our yearly examination period, which will take place in Term 4. Now, with both sets of exams, I will be looking at results pretty closely, just to make sure that your child is on track and is developing the correct study habits in order to start their Stage 6 studies. Some important dates for Year 10 students. So as I mentioned earlier, Term 2, we will have our parent-teacher interviews, and in Term 3, those re-enrollment interviews will be taking place. Now, also on our Teams course, you're going to find a video put together by our current Year 11 students, Nicholas Mowat and Celine Musa. They're just going to give you an insight into the subject selection process that they went through last year. Now, the way I've designed this little clip is in a question-answer format. Now, should there be a question that you may have that I haven't actually addressed here, I'm going to include a link on the Teams course for parents to actually put the question in there. Your child can help you access that. What I'll then do is I'll collate them by the end of next week, which is week 5, and then I will pop them up on the course so that you can have a look at the answers. So the questions can be both from yourself or from your child. So let's start off. What are the pathways available at MCHF? Well, we've got several pathways. First one is HSC with an ATAR. So that's for those students who really want to go to university. The ATAR is required for you to get into university. The second option we've got is SPAT, which is where you do school, TAFE and work at the same time. Now, you need to be really an organised student to be able to do that. We also have an option called TVET, where you do school and TAFE at the same time. Again, you'll need to be a highly organised student to be able to do that. And the fourth option is an apprenticeship or traineeship, but that's only an option for you if you're planning to leave before you turn 17. So how will you figure out which pathway that you want? Well, if I were you, my first thing I would do is I would identify my end goal. So is it going to be work or is it going to be study? And if it's study, where's it going to be? Uni, TAFE or college? There's no right or wrong answer. It's what's best for you. I would then consider my abilities and interests. So what is it that you're good at? What is it that you're interested in? I would then go and explore some career opportunities that fall within those interests and abilities. And I'd also do some research and study options. And I would use the UAC book that's already up on your course as we speak. It's in the file section. Everything you need is in the file section of our course. So what are the HSC requirements for the class of 2022? Yes, you'll be graduating in 2022. So the requirements that you will need to meet. Firstly, for Year 11, you need to have a minimum of 12 units and you need to satisfactorily complete each of those courses before Year 12 course starts. Now, Year 12 starts in Term 4 of 2021. For Year 12, you need to have a minimum of 10 units. Now, if you're a student who wants to do 12, that's fine. But just remember, you're spreading yourself a little bit too thin with that additional subject. Some students think they need a backup. In actual fact, that could actually cause you a little bit more stress because you'll have to add another 4 assessment tasks on top of that. You'll have to add another subject's worth of work. Why do that when you can focus all your energies into the 10 units and make them all count? So what is the HSC course structure? Well, all HSC courses have a unit value. Majority are 2 units in value. However, there are 1-unit subjects. They are, generally speaking, the SOR course, so SOR 1, and your mathematics and English extension courses. They are both 1 units as well. Now, a 2-unit course is studied for over 120 hours over a 2-year period, so you'll be finishing 204 hours by the end of Year 12. And a 1-unit course is studied over 60 hours per year, Therefore, you're doing 120 hours over the 2 years. So what are the types of courses that you can select from? Well, we've got two types. You've got your board-developed courses and your board-endorsed courses. Now, your board-developed courses have a HSC attached to them, except for some vet courses where you can decide not to sit the HSC for, and they probably will be included in the calculation of your ATAR, okay? Now, board-endorsed courses, there's no HSC examination for them, and they're not included in the calculation of your ATAR, all right? Now, those board-developed courses are split into two more categories, A and B. So I'm going to go through those now with you. Pay attention to anything that's in the green boxes here. Category A courses will be included in the calculation of your ATAR, well, if they're part of your best 10 units, and there is a compulsory HSC exam that you need to sit for that. So for example, you pick maths, you pick geography, you pick business studies, they all have the compulsory HSC and will count towards your ATAR. Category B, on the other hand, you cannot do more than 2 units of a Category B subject if you want an ATAR. So what does that mean? Say, for example, in Year 11, you want to do vet construction and you want to do vet hospitality. That's fantastic. You can do that up until the end of Year 11. But if you want an ATAR, you need to actually drop one of those 2 subjects in order to qualify for an ATAR, because you're only allowed to do 2 units of a Category B course. Now, there's an optional HSC exam attached to those vet courses. You don't have to sit the HSC for it, but we highly recommend that you do, particularly because our school does relatively well in those vet courses. And there's also an element of work experience that's involved with a vet course. Now, with COVID-19, there has been some slight changes. I'm pretty sure that by the time it's your turn for Year 12 work placement, things might go back to normal. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, all of these courses are hyperlinked in your subject selection handbook on Teams, where I've given you, in the handbook, I've given you, for each of these subjects, Category A and Category B, that we offer, I've given you a link to the syllabus so you can have a look at what you'll be studying for each of those subjects. Okay, so what should your Year 11 and Year 12 pattern of study look like? All right. So you need to have 2 units of compulsory English. Now, the reason why I say that, English is the only subject that you will study where both of the units will contribute to your ATAR. The remaining 8 units that are used to calculate your ATAR are not 2 full units in total. They are 1 unit per subject. So for example, 2 unit business studies, they'll take 1 unit of that. 2 unit SOR, they'll take 1 unit of that. Okay, but you have to have 2 units of compulsory English, and you've got to successfully pass that as well. You'll need 6 units of board-developed courses and 3 courses of 2 unit value or greater, okay? In total, at least 4 subjects, including English, and a maximum of 6 units of science if you are a science person. If you really enjoy science, you can do up to 6 units in Year 11, and as of 2019, NESA have allowed students to do up to 7 units of science for Year 12. That's because they've now introduced science extension for those of you who are really keen on doing some sciences. So what does it mean to satisfactorily complete a course? Now, I need you to pay attention to everything that is in yellow highlighted here. To successfully complete a course, you need to apply yourself with diligence and sustained effort. Complete every single thing that is required for your course. Everything from assessments to classwork, excursions, you name it, you have to participate and you have to complete. You need to also achieve all the outcomes. And if you're a vet student, you need to make sure you complete that work placement. And with every single subject, make a serious attempt in all examinations. Now, should all this not be met, that's grounds for warning letters. 2 warning letters in a subject means I'll need to indeterminate you. If I indeterminate you for a subject, that means you cannot get your HSC. So it starts to get serious in stage 6. Are there any prerequisites for senior study? Yes, there are. Again, pay attention to the things in yellow. You need to satisfactorily complete all your stage 5 courses. Now, exactly the same as with stage 6. If you get 2 warning letters in one subject, let's say, for example, maths, and maths is compulsory according to NESA, then you cannot progress to Year 11, which means you'll have to repeat Year 10, which we don't want. You'll need to pass the HSC or My Own Work, which we'll do towards the end of Year 10. You'll need to meet those minimum standards of literacy and numeracy. They are online tests, and we'll work towards achieving those towards middle and end of the year. If you're planning on doing English Extension or English Advanced, you will need to sit and pass an entrance test. And those of you who are wanting to do vet construction, you will need to pass a construction exam to determine your suitability for the course. So it's not just a matter of picking things because you want to. There are some restrictions around some things. So do you get a ROSA, which is a record of school achievement? Well, every eligible student does receive a ROSA. They receive it at the end of year 10. Now, should you choose to leave, that ROSA is your record of school achievement, and you take that with you when you apply for positions or whatever you do, or going to going to TAFE. Once you hit year 12, that ROSA becomes void and your HSC then takes over, and whatever you get in your HSC results is what you will get. Now, say for example, you decide to leave halfway through year 11 or halfway through year 12, I will still issue you with a ROSA that will list all your subjects and the grade that you achieved in those subjects to prove that you were at school and that you did achieve something in those subjects. So how is your HSC mark determined? Well, it's 50% of your school assessment plus 50% of your HSC exam mark is what you get for your HSC reported mark. So your school assessment plays a really big part here, as does your exam. So how is your ATAR calculated? Now there's something I really need to stress here. Students have a misconception about what the ATAR is. The ATAR is a rank. It is not a mark, okay? It's how you rank compared to other students sitting the HSC of that particular year. It consists of your best 10 units, 2 of which, as I've already mentioned, must be English. So basically speaking, your HSC compares you against standards in a course. Those standards are those outcomes, whereas the ATAR compares you against other students. So now we're starting to talk competition, which leads me into my next point, the S word, scaling. What is that exactly? Well, think of scaling as the strength of the competition within that course, or the quality of candidates, okay? The higher the competition, the higher the scaled mark. The lower the competition, the lower the scaled mark. And the only thing that can interfere with your scaling, in other words, increase it or decrease it, is you, your own performance. Not the subject, it's how you perform in that subject. So should you select courses that scale better? The answer is no. It's only your performance that will determine whether your mark goes up or down, or scales up or scales down. So choose subjects that you're interested in, that you're good at, that you enjoy, and have some skill in, because chances are those results will go up. So how do you go about selecting your subjects here at Maronite College? On the screen here, you'll see a 6-step process, which I'm about to go through in just a second. This 6-step process is also already up on our Teams course, and everything that you need for subject selection is in the files section of our course. Every time I ask you to fill in a form, I'll put that in the posts section. That way you can immediately click on the link and fill it in. One document I would like you to make sure you've downloaded is the timeline of events, because that'll tell you when things are due and how long you've got to complete certain things. If you don't meet those requirements, I don't count your subject selections at the same time as your peers. So you need to make sure that you're following those instructions. So firstly, I need you to log into the subject selection Teams course, which most of you have already done, and familiarize yourself with the documents, especially the subject selection handbook. Okay, I need you to print out your subject mentoring log, and I need you to fill in the form to identify the 6 subjects that you would like to consider for your HSC. Okay, that's all got to be done by the end of week 4. Then you need to make sure you've introduced yourself to your mentor, and at some point you will need to meet your mentor. Okay, it's all in the timeline of events. Once you've met your mentor to see what subjects you're thinking about, you then do your first round. Now, those first round of subject selection, the lines are based on what you tell me from those six subjects. So you'll pick your subjects based on the lines. Then you'll get a chance to meet Mr. Elhaj, who's our careers advisor, to make sure that your subjects are in line with what you're thinking of doing. You will then meet your mentor for the second time and then have your second round of subject selection. Should there be any major issues, I'll liaise with those students who have clashes. Otherwise, pretty much you won't need to see me. You need to make sure you're filling in your subject mentoring log every time you meet either your mentor or Mr. Elhaj. And then your final subject selections will be submitted or handed to you at your enrollment interview. Now, the timeline of events, as I've already said, and the subject selection handbook has every single thing that you need. And the Teams course has so many other resources on there to assist you. Now, should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to fill in the form that I'm leaving on our course, and I'll endeavour to answer those questions for you. In the meantime, good luck, and we are here to help. God bless.